Hello. We are going to get started. The employee management module training. So we're going to talk about how you can use headset analytics to better manage your and monitor their performance, as well as how to staff more efficiently through your scheduling. So I think kind of the foundation of this module or of this kind of pillar is really around ensuring quality of employee. I think oftentimes we neglect employees as a key component of the sales process. They have so much influence over the customer's decision making, and is actually, I think, Krista Raymer from Vitrina Group, she was actually talking about how pricing compression can be somewhat attributed to bud tenders just recommending lower priced products. So they do have a lot of influence, not just at the store level, but it can have a ripple effect and impact the industry as a whole. But I think, one last point on ensuring quality of employee is just the fact that this industry has a really high attrition rate. We put out an industry report called the revolving door factor a while ago, which really just looked at how quickly turnover happens in this industry, especially at the bud tender level. And so I think this dashboard and these dashboards in this module really help you kind of fine tune how you're managing your bud tenders. You're not overworking them, underworking them, that you're giving them a really healthy balance, and that it helps you put them first and kind of helps you also kind of identify coaching opportunities for them to improve their performance, et cetera. So lots of good stuff. We also have that industry report, which I think to date is one of our most popular. You can still access it within the industry reports tab. If you just type in bud tenders or revolving door, it should pop up. But before we get into the premium dashboards, I do want to touch on just kind of one of the functionalities available in the freemium version, Retailer Pulse. So before we get into premium, you just want to make sure that all of your bud tenders are updated to the appropriate status. And what that means is, do you want them to be contributing to averages within your bud tender data? So if you're looking at average basket across all employees or bud tenders, do you want that to include a GM who maybe occasionally steps on the floor and helps out with transactions, or do you want to exclude them from the data set? So in sales staff, in the Retailer Pulse module, you have the option to designate certain employees as a bud tender, and you have the option to also turn them off. So everyone in this list is a bud tender, but say Sai is a GM. Maybe Sai is actually like a regional manager. It just happens to be at the store one day when they're a little bit short-staffed and makes a transaction and has that sale attributed to his name. That's going to show up in all of our bud tender reporting, his numbers, but it may not, that's kind of an anomaly. It's just one transaction that is probably not consistent with the rest of the transactions at the store. So if you want to exclude Sai from the data set, you would just select these little ellipses, the trailing 3 dots, and just update Sai's status to no. And that will ensure that his data, his metrics are not lumped into the aggregate. All right, so just wanted to call that out before we get into the first dashboard, staffing store, because you'll see that the filters at the top of every dashboard in the premium module allow you to select yes, they are bud tenders, no, they aren't. So Likely for this and for all of the module or for all of the dashboards, you'll likely just have yes selected. I don't know when there will be a time when you'd want to see the regional managers or GMs or whomever is designated as no show up on these. But if that is something that you want to do, yes, you can select them to no. But I just want to look at my bud tender data here. And this first dashboard is really all around helping you more efficiently schedule and identify the days and the hours of the day when you may be a little bit overstaffed, you may be a little bit understaffed. And so it's really helping you kind of achieve that Goldilocks standard, not too little, not too much. You want to do this at the store level. So I selected Belltown Demo as my store, and you'll see 3 metric choices here. I want to look at basket count per employee. I'm curious, maybe my store has I'm setting certain benchmarks, certain goals. I want every employee to make 2 transactions per hour or 2 baskets per hour. So I am kind of curious to look at baskets. Maybe you want to look at revenue. So you have that option to choose revenue, gross margin, but I am just going to choose basket in this instance. And I'm looking at the last 8 weeks. These first 2 tiles will just give you some information around how you're staffing on each day of the week. So you can see every day of the week. It's kind of weirdly sorted, but this demo store staffs the same amount of people each day, which is semi-concerning, but this will not, hopefully not be what your store looks like. So 8 employees on average per day, every day of the week. And you can see that you can see staffing counts for next week from last year. So maybe this can kind of help inform how you're going into the next week. If you're coming around to scheduling, maybe this data can give you some guardrails as to maybe I should bump up my average employee count by 1, just given what I did last year. So it's just kind of to help with more prescriptive scheduling in the future. But this is going to show you next week from last year, and it's going to be next week from today. And next week it's a full week, so we designate weeks as Monday through Sunday. So it'd be from, if today is 4/19, it will be starting on the 25th. All right, as we move down the page, you'll see employee count or employee totals in the blue, and you'll see basket count, which is the metric that we selected in the black line. And then this triangle is going to be your metric per employee. So what we're simply doing is we're dividing the basket count by the number of employees staffed that day to get an average basket per employee. So it's just dividing this blue, dividing the black line by the blue total. And that's going to give you this metric per employee. So really on any given day, we can see that we're averaging between 27, maybe 25 and 44 baskets per employee. So that seems to be our range. It looks like the average would be probably around 30, 34, if I was just to draw an imaginary line. What this does below, this graph below, does is it actually averages those numbers for you. And it will tell you on each day given within your time frame. So in the last 8 complete weeks, are you above that average or are you below that average? So above average is going to be in the dark purple. Below average is going to be in the teal. What that means is if you're above average, if say the average is 34 transactions and on 2/26, my bud tenders are making 42 transactions on average, or 42 transactions for that day, that's 10, 12 transactions above the average. I'm probably overworking them. Or maybe, if not overworking them, they're just slightly busier than normal. And so maybe it would be a smart decision for me in the future to look at this day and consider staffing an additional person. Now, I wouldn't look at this day in isolation. I would say, okay, is this something that we're consistently seeing? So maybe 2/26 is a Saturday, and then March 6th or that wouldn't be a Saturday, but 3, 4 maybe would be a Saturday. If you're seeing that you're chronically above average every Saturday, then that's something that would maybe tell me as a sales staff manager to, hey, I need to staff maybe 1 or 2 more people that day, just given the sales volume, the foot traffic that we're seeing that day, which is going to be generally higher. On the flip side, the below average is going to show you opportunities where you can maybe cut back. You don't have to have as full of an employee list on tap for that specific day. And maybe you see themes within that too. So maybe every Monday or Tuesday, generally slower days, this retailer is staffing 8 employees on each day. So that's probably a little too many individuals working on those slower days. Maybe I can cut back. So this is going to show you that on the daily level, but if you wanted to look at that on the hourly level, you can scroll all the way down here. And this is going to show you that basket count per employee by hour of the day and by day of the week. So you can see each day of the week where your business, when your business is open, and each hour of that day. So the redder the shade, the further that hour is deviating from the average. So you can see Saturday, pretty red from 3 p.m. until 7 p.m. So maybe I want to staff someone kind of midday, mid-shift to help out. 4 baskets, that's above the average. Doesn't seem like a whole lot to me, but that just given what this store is normally doing, that does look like it is above average. You can see that the mornings are a little bit understaffed. So this is not quite as red, but it is a little bit redder than the average of 3, which it looks like it's around 3. So maybe I want to consider pulling back someone in the morning hours. 2 transactions per hour per employee. It's not that many. I can probably afford to cut my staff or my roster by 1 person. So this graph above, it's going to be a spitting image of this. It's going to be the exact same. It's just a different color coordination. So this is a heat map, whereas this is going to show you again times when you're further from the average, as indicated by redder shades. And then this heat map right here, this is just going to show me the total number of employees over that 8-week time frame by hour of the day. So over the last 8 weeks, I had a total of 53 employees staffed at 11 a.m. on a Monday. So it's just going to be we're summing up all of the weeks, the number of employees staffed that day, just to give you an aggregate total amount. All right, the next dashboard. So I think I actually forgot to highlight where we are, but we were in staffing story, now we're in team performance. Team performance will show you how your bud tenders compare to one another. So how does Joe compare to Sarah from a revenue perspective? What about a basket count perspective? This is just a great dashboard to reference just to get a feel for who maybe needs a little bit more coaching, a little bit more help within certain areas of the business. And also it's a good way just to see like, who should I definitely make sure that I'm staffing on particular days. And when I say particular days, like if you're having a vendor day, you want to make sure that you staff someone who's knowledgeable in that vendor and is selling a lot of those products. If I'm having, a Munchie Mondays where I'm selling edibles, I want to have someone who is knowledgeable in my edibles product line, staff that day to help out. And so this is first going to show me all of my bud tenders. And again, you'll see that bud tender filter. I'm just selecting yes. And I'm looking at revenue split by category. Everyone has a pretty homogeneous like sales composition. The majority of sales are coming from flower. Then you can see kind of vape pens, pre-rolls, and concentrates make up the next big kind of category. If you wanted to rather look at basket count or gross margin, you totally could, and you could totally summarize this differently. So if I just wanted to look at the brands within my edible line, for example, I could slice the data that way to see, okay, who's really good at selling X brand of edible. This is looking at percentage. So I got a lot of brands on here, and I can always toggle certain brands off just by clicking on the data points. This graph over here, or this scatter plot, what this shows you is actually the actual dollar amount, the actual revenue. So this is going to be a percentage of the overall sales, and you can hover over these to see what that dollar amount is. This is just going to show you that raw dollar amount. So I can see that, for example, for Wild, if I'm having a promotion or I'm having a vendor day where I'm sponsoring Wild, they're coming into the store and promoting a new product line, I definitely want to make sure that I staff Scott, Willie Nelson, and Brian. They all kind of are the front runners here. I can also toggle certain data points off just to kind of make it a little bit prettier. If I just want to isolate certain employees, I can then see, okay, is that success from Scott and Brian and Willie, is that success attributed to really high discounting? I don't necessarily want those bud tenders to be discounting a lot on that vendor day. Maybe you're already discounting, or that vendor is already discounted at the register. So you don't need someone who is, is really maybe uses discounts excessively in their transactions. And so we just want to ground these numbers up top in these numbers just to see what percentage of their sales actually were discounted. So Scott is actually discounting quite a bit. Looks like on some of these products up to 42%. It looks like though everyone is within a fairly similar range. If we were just to look at Wild products, for example, looks like 28 to, oh, Scott's actually on the lower end. Brian's at 39%. So it's just a way, again, just to see, okay, is that success attributed to them actually being really good at selling those products, or is that really more so a factor than just discounting super heavily and customers kind of responding to that? So that's just a good way just to kind of get some additional context. And then as you scroll down the page, you can see among your bud tenders what percentage of their baskets are tagged with certain information pieces. So this is a little bit of a pivot from the above graphs and tables. This is actually going to show us what percentage of their transactions within my given time frame have certain attributes. And the reason why we look at this is because headset data, for the most part, is very reliant on you to collect gender, age, referral source, and a customer ID in order to analyze that data set. So a lot of our consumer insights, our customer analytics, they are all reliant on those data points. And so as a way to ensure consistency and ensure that your employees are actually following that process of collecting that data, this is a good way just to kind of check in. So looks like about a third of my baskets are tagged with age. Everyone's kind of in the same ballpark. Scott's doing slightly better than everyone else at 39%. Gender, same kind of similar story. Referral source is a tough one. I imagine this one will be the one that you'll probably want to enforce the most. So referral source is that data point when a customer comes in for the first time, you can ask them, hey, how did you hear about us? Did you hear about us through Yelp or through Weed Maps or Leafly? And you can start to collect that data. A lot of employees will not collect that data just because it is kind of, it's cumbersome in the transactional process to enter in that. It's just one additional step. So if you are looking to enforce that data collection, which is routinely missed in a lot of retail shops that I work with, I would definitely leverage this just to see, okay, you know, Scott's doing really well. Maybe I need to remind Seth, who's at 80%, what our process is. Maybe I need to coach them a little bit more. Maybe I need to print out the SOP and tell them to look at it each time they ring out a customer. So just another way to see how your employees are performing, not necessarily from a sales perspective, but how they're collecting certain data attributes. The next dashboard is the leaderboard, which is very simple. It's just a way to see who is the front runner within certain parameters. So if you're running a competition on who can sell the most of brand X, product Y, category Z, you can come in here and select or filter your selection to that whatever is being, whatever is being featured within that, internal competition. And then we'll tell you who is in first place, second place, third place, and you can rank people based on 3 different metrics: revenue, basket count, and gross margin. So this will be really great if you do have a lot of internal competitions to like incentivize bartender sales. I know a lot of people do that. So just select your date range, select whatever products it's relevant to, and then you can see the stats. If you wanted to see the beyond that dollar amount to see, okay, so say you are having like a promo or an internal competition on wild products. Come on. Okay, maybe not. It's a vendor tab. Let's do that one more time. Wild. So maybe you are having a promotion on internal promotion on Wild, who can sell the most product in X amount of time. And then you'll be able to see the revenue and all the other KPIs here, but maybe you want to see beyond that revenue number to see what products they're actually selling, what specific products of Wild. You can actually click on the revenue of the employee, and you can see what products they're selling. So out of that $800, I can see $250 of it came from the sativa raspberry gummy. So you can get super granular. You can get down to the product level if you like, just by clicking on the actual number itself. It just works for revenue. It doesn't work for any of the profit discount numbers. Those are not hyperlinked. It's just the revenue. All right. There is a corresponding dashboard below leaderboard email. It's going to be the exact same dashboard. It's just going to be in a format that is intended specifically to be emailed. Again, to email a dashboard, you just click on the little 3 vertical dots, schedule a delivery, and you can send this to all of your employees during the time frame of the competition, and that may just give them some way to see how they stack up against other people, and that may incentivize them to be even more competitive and boost their performance. I know if I received an email every week or every day throughout the competition just to see where I fell, it would probably increase my my drive to perform even better. So you can email this as well. And then the last dashboard is discount utilization. And discount utilization is a really good dashboard just to track how you're discounting at the store and whether or not you are seeing people who are abusing discounts. I wouldn't go so far as to say underutilizing discounts, although I guess that is somewhat of a thing. But this was more so built just to identify people who may be outliers, and you may need to check on their discounting practices just to kind of curb them and bring them back to reality, because a lot of people do have a pretty heavy hand when it comes to discounting. So this dashboard here works in a very similar way. You can see your bud tender filter, you can see your sold date, discount bucket. So this is if you'd rather see the actual name of the discount. So if I want to see how many people are using veterans discount or employee discount, I would click on discount name. If I rather see the numerical value, so if veterans discount equals, if that's actually equivalent to like a 12% off discount, then I can select discount bucket, and that would actually give me the 12% value. I'll just leave it at discount bucket for now. This first scatter plot, this is showing you total transactions on the x-axis and total discounted amount on the y-axis. So when you think about discounting, you expect that as your transactions increase, your discounted amount will also increase. So there should be a positive correlation, but the rate at which people discount should be similar. So people who are discounting or transacting more, it doesn't necessarily mean that their discount percentage should be higher or that they should be discounting more aggressively. Their rate should still be within line of what everyone else is doing. And so as you increase transactions, you will also increase discounted amount. So therefore, you should be able to draw an invisible line between all of these data points. Wherever you see a dot kind of deviate from that line, that's something that I would investigate. So if there was a data point like all the way up here, that would definitely be one that you'd say, okay, transaction versus discounted amount, it's not necessarily a one-to-one kind of ratio. Looks like they're probably discounting a little too high. This kind of stands out to me a little bit. So the transactions are the same, essentially, 1553, 1554. So Willie Nelson has one more transaction, but Willie Nelson has $1,600 more in discounts. And that's the discounted amount. That's the amount that you lost, the revenue that you lost because of discounting. So maybe Willie Nelson is a GM and they are responsible for, or are maybe exclusively responsible for giving out like higher discounted discount codes that maybe like a GM cannot, or maybe like a bud tender cannot give out. So maybe their discounts are just going to be higher because of their position within the store, but something that I would investigate. All of these are kind of clustered. Nothing really stands out to me. Bob has about 30 more transactions than Seth, but Seth has quite a bit more discounts, about 1,000, almost, yeah, 1,500. So just, it's supposed to look at those relationships. Again, you should be able to draw a linear regression line, so a line through these data points. And anywhere you see these dots kind of deviate from that line, that's something where you should investigate. Lastly, you'll be able to see the discounts given across that time frame as a percentage. So you can see, okay, 14% of Willie Nelson's discounts were in the 0 to 10% bucket, 17% were in the 20 to 30% bucket, 100% of size discounts were in the 70 to 80% bucket. Yeah, 100% of the 100% of the 78 to 80% discounts were given out by SI. So just a way to kind of look at who's giving out what, and if you'd rather see that as the actual discount name, you can summarize the data differently, and I'll just show you what that looks like. This data table below is going to give you the number of transactions that correlate to that percentage. So you can see the number of transactions if you hover over the bucket. So for 20 to 30%, Willie Nelson has given out 300, that discount on 312 transactions. That's just going to be reiterated in this table below. And I forget that this demo store does not have discount names, unfortunately, but you will see just the actual text of the discount name, discount code displayed here. And you can see what percentage is given out by each bud tender. That is pretty much it. So again, we went through the employee management module, staffing store to help you kind of optimize efficiency within your scheduling process, team performance to help you internally benchmark bud tenders against each other from various perspectives. If you wanted to look at sales, but also to look at those customer attributes, the percentage of transactions tagged with age, gender, customer ID, and referral source. Leaderboard, the leaderboard dashboards will help you when you're running internal sales competitions to just monitor performance, who's the front runner, who's on second place, third place, etc. And then you can dive even deeper to see what specific products your bud tenders are selling. And lastly, discount utilization, just to drill in a little bit deeper as to what discounts specifically are given out by your employees to make sure that they're not using them in excess. The only other thing that we covered was just that sales staff dashboard, just to make sure that your bud tender statuses are reflective of what you want to see in the data. So just make those changes accordingly. And those are made instantaneously. So you don't have to wait for the next API call or anything. But if you have any questions, as always, use the chat bubble. You can reach out to us at support@headset.io. And otherwise, yeah, I don't think we have any questions. So I'm going to go ahead and end. Thanks, y'all.